Hey guys, this is Alex Dean, or Alex with Ataxia is the handle. I'm 32, living with a decently rare genetic condition called Friedreich's Ataxia, or FA, that I will go more into in a minute. Just know there are lots of different specific types of ataxia, and ataxia really just means gait issues or issues with walking, things like that, but there are different genetic symptoms as well. And as I'm sure you'll also notice right away, affects my speech. So lots of different ataxias out there. But I'll go a little bit more into now what is FA. Friedreich's ataxia is a neuromuscular disorder. Affects so much more than just what you can obviously see about me, but for sure mobility issues, in a wheelchair. Not everyone with FA is in a wheelchair, though I am. Also, very obvious one is speech being affected now. There are a lot of fine motor concerns, things like that. It really affects peripheral nerves more than anything. So that's a weird term for a lot, but lower down in legs or further out in the arms, things farther away from the center of your body. Importantly, I am not a doctor. I don't really have any business knowing how to describe the medical ins and outs of the disorder. I'm just telling you what I know, what affects on the day-to-day. So again, neuromuscular, it is genetic. So I was born with it, although that will tie into the next thing, which is super delayed onset. So while I was born with it, it didn't start showing up until I was 13, around there. And even then, tie into the last thing, it is degenerative. So it gets worse over time. So even at that point when it showed up, I was still able to walk. Kind of showed up like a limp, but it was as it progressed that it got worse and worse. I didn't have any speech issue or anything like that until my mid-20s, honestly. So super degenerative, downhill slope. And again, this is all just about, where I am now, and more importantly, showing FA and what's going on, and hopefully different ideas or ways to help for anyone going through this. So that kind of leads into the next segment of the goals in doing this video series. So why am I doing this? What I want to do at the end of the day is help people however I can. The goal of this is to show how I do my life with FA and try to give tips or tricks or any ideas anybody can pick up from my videos of doing stuff and how I do life with FA that could help anybody else dealing with this. I have a film production undergrad degree and education master's degree in higher ed. So this video series seemed like the right way to go to hopefully help in some way. The other thing is that FA is obviously a rare disorder, so I'm all for spreading awareness and helping the FARA, which is the Friedreich's Ataxia Research Alliance, in any way I can. So a lot of those are the same reasons I started a book after my master's degree, after graduating in 2016, and actually just released that in 2024, but here's the book. But so the idea, just showing, again, like this, showing my journey and showing what's helped me, things like that. With respect to my journey specifically, it was a long road to a diagnosis, and one that I'm wanting to try to avoid others having to repeat. In my specific case, obviously the first things we looked at were physical issues like what I have going on, all of that. We got a few incorrect or false negative genetic results that sent me down a lot of weird roads. There was the idea for a while that it was an eating disorder because part of FA is that you have a hard time putting on or gaining any weight in the first, say, decade that you're first diagnosed. Then eventually with the false genetic testing results, the thought was that, okay, well, we can't figure it out, so it must be psychological. So I did a lot of psych ward stays and going through treatments like that before ultimately, as you can read about in this book, the attention turned to spiritual stuff weirdly. Maybe it was a demonic presence of sorts. Went through a few exorcisms. That's a hard word to say. So I did all of that and put in the book again with the same exact goal of this entire video series, just trying to help other people in any way I can. So at the end of the day, this is about showing what works for me through my life, the way I do things, and hopefully it can show different tips or ideas that might be helpful to any of you watching this video. Know that I'm certainly not an expert by any means. I'm just showing the different ways that I have learned to live with this and deal with this. As far as upcoming videos, that means showing my car situation, how I would get in the car and use that with the wheelchair ramp, driving and stuff, or how I do the bath shower thing, or even silly seeming things like daily my closet, how the clothes are set up and how that all works for me getting dressed in the mornings, or even talking with my roommate Audrey, who I'm sure will appear at some point, traveling with her and other things that might be helpful. Certainly let me know if there's any ideas or anything you want me to touch on in the chat. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe to my channel, Alex with Ataxia, for anything else, and I'll try to update and post once a week on Wednesdays, what I'll end up doing. Thanks so much for watching, and talk to you later.